Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Eclipse Kitchen. This is my own twist on an Italian classic. It's very simple and quite delicious. I can't tell you how many times I've had this during the spring and summer months. I do try to stick as close to how the Italians do it with my own unique flair. Okay, let's pull up the recipe and see what you'll need for this. Let's start with the pasta. To go with tradition, I tend to use the Catelli Super Green Spaghettini, but you can go with your standard spaghetti. The pasta choice is entirely up to you. Here's the cans of diced and crushed tomatoes. For the sauce base, I tend to go with a combination of the Elmer diced tomatoes with Italian seasoning and the Elmer crushed tomatoes. Again, if you want tradition, you can use tomato paste instead of the crushed tomatoes for a thicker sauce. I personally like slow cooking my sauce over time, so the crushed tomatoes plus a third of a can of water works perfectly for me. Again, like the traditional Italian tomato sauce, they tend to use a high quality oil such as olive oil or avocado oil. Instead of using just enough to coat the pan, you want to use a bit more, as this is partly essential for the sauce. These vegetables go really well with the sauce. And if you're not allergic to mushrooms, you can add a can of sliced mushrooms or 250 grams of fresh sliced mushrooms while the vegetables are cooking. Now on to the meatballs. You're going to need at least a pound of regular ground meat. Alternatively, you can use ground Italian sausage with this portion of the recipe. It all depends on how many meatballs you want to make. Here's the free-run eggs. I find using one egg is good enough for a pound of meat, but it doesn't hurt to add in a second one if you think you need it. There's the rolled oats. Yes, it's an important step in the process of making these meatballs. You want to either use the regular rolled oats or quick oats. Just don't make the same mistake as me and use the large flake. You can use flour instead of rolled oats, as this will give the same glue as the rolled oats to keep your meatballs from falling apart. The chili sauce adds a bit of moisture as well as flavor. You can omit this if you want, or even substitute it with the Willie's relish or zucchini relish for a sweet twist. The garlic, oregano, and basil are great in the meatballs as well as the marinara sauce. For the meatballs, I tend to go with a teaspoon of all three, but for the marinara sauce, I usually go with 2 teaspoons of each. You can use more or less if you want. I just find this works for me. Hope you guys enjoy this Italian dish. You can pair this with the leftover Bun's cheesy garlic bread if you desire. Alright, now on to the main portion of the show. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm basically going to be doing the meatball portion right now to do the, for the homemade, I'm going to be doing the homemade meatballs or the fresh meatballs and homemade marinara sauce. I'm just needing the little brush because I want to add some oil into the pan. I didn't really clean that also. So I'm just going to do that. Get the oven going at 400 because I think it's 400. Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember that I haven't done this in a while, and I am trying to remember the recipe out there. So, I'm going to take my oil, I'm going to grab this. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil in here, and then I'm going to, excuse me, and then I'm going to brush a little bit of oil into the thing. My graham crackers don't exactly have, they aren't really fatty, so if you're using ground meat, make sure that it's regular ground meat, not like the light stuff. And I'm doing a slight modification on this. Instead of the chili sauce, I'm using the glazed relish because I kind of want it a little bit sweeter because I'm going to have a already flavorful sauce that I'm going to be doing later. What else do I need? Scissors. That's what I need is a tablespoon. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit on the messy side. And I need the actual measuring tablespoon. So yeah, I'm going to do teaspoon, basically a teaspoon of each, thrown in with the meat so I can get that going. Really like these graham crumbles because it's sort of a heat and serve product, but I usually tend to cook this stuff about the same amount of time as what it takes for regular meat. So to me that makes it a little bit better for me because I know how long it takes for actual meat to cook, so I might as well just keep the time the same and all that sort of stuff. I'm also gonna get my sink going because I need to wash up my dishes later. So I'm just gonna take some oil and just a quick rub down of each thing, just so that the things don't exactly, so they don't stick to the thing. You won't have this problem when you're using like regular ground beef, or ground meat, period. But I just want to make sure that my stuff doesn't stick. Because the last time I did this, it did stick quite a bit. So I want to make sure that I get enough oil around so that they pop right out. Because I do pack my meatballs, or I do pack this quite a bit, my meatballs, so. And I find this is a lot better than frying them on the, or doing them on the frying pan. You just bake them for 20 minutes, they're done. So like that. It takes forever for the sink to, or for the tap to get hot enough, so let it run. And I always do that. I always have my sink going because that way I can do my dishes as I go along, so I don't have to worry about that. I got almost a dozen. This is a 2 dozen cupcake tin, and they make pretty good, pretty decent size meatballs. So I like using this. You can just make the meatballs however size you want, and then you can either pan fry them or bake them for like 20 minutes. You just want them cooked enough that you want them mostly cooked, because the rest of the cooking time is in the sauce itself. So usually with this thing, it usually does about, just make sure that this is going around the edges as well as the bottom. I mean, the bottom is kind of the most important part. I'm just going to do I'm going to do this row and then see where I am after I make the stuff. But this will just help with keeping the meatballs from sticking to the pan. And with the avocado oil, I don't have to worry about it being like really bad for me, because this oil has omega-3s, omega-9s. I did a whole bunch of information. If you look on the behind the scenes episode in the description, it I put a lot of good information for you guys. So that's, I need the quarter cup. And basically when you're measuring like this or the chili sauce, I'm probably talking a little too loud, but basically you do 4 tablespoons is 1/4 cup. So 4 of these equals 1 of these. That's relatively the amount. So I have my graham crumples. It's going to take a while, or the oven's going to take a while. One good thing about these graham crumbles is they're easy to break apart. They do have their own oil in them, but I tend to cook them in a little bit of avocado oil. Might actually splash in a little bit just to up that fat content. I'm doing 1 egg for this. You can do 2 eggs if you want, depends on your preference. I have it on the recipe, 1 to 2 eggs, so you just want enough that it'll hold the meat stuff together without worry, or without it falling apart. And as you see, I keep washing my hands every time I touch. I know this stuff doesn't have salmonella on it and such. It's just inbred into me to always wash my hands when I'm touching meat. It doesn't matter if it's vegetarian stuff or real stuff. So, crack my egg. I always put my egg in first before I put the spices in, because then the spices have something to stick to. I mean, you can do the meat first, or do the spices first and then the egg, but I still just put this on my shoulder like I do with everything else. I might have something to wipe my hands with. And you will get messy. This is not a clean. This is not a clean food. So you will get your hands dirty and messy and all that sort of stuff. And it's kind of fun. Oh yeah, 1 egg is definitely enough for my crumbles. Yeah. 2 eggs probably would make it better, but I'm only doing 1 pound today, not 2. I mean, I could do 2, and that makes a lot of meatballs. You can also use this mix to do like meatloaf if you really want to. I basically use this mix for homemade hamburgers, meatloaf, and the meatballs. So I don't exactly. This is like a multi-purpose type product here. So if you're in the mood for homemade hamburgers, well, this is the similar recipe that you could use for that. I just recommend don't use the large flakes. It's what I have here. Either regular rolled oats or quick oats will do the best job for this. And you don't need that much. Let's grab my mustard right now. I'm doing a tablespoon of each because I like flavor. So I'm doing that. I'm also the other. I'm doing garlic because I love my garlic, and that's a little too much. That's about 1 thing. I love my garlic, so if this is like extra garlicky for me, it's extra garlicky. It's good for the heart anyway, so not good for the heart, good for the liver. And this, I might actually need a knife. Will need a knife. So with some of these spices, you may want to use the back side of the knife to evenly put this in. So there we go. Put that spice in. And turmeric is always good for diabetics. It helps regulate the blood sugars. So that's a good thing. So this is my oregano, and oregano also is a good spice for this type of stuff. that's good. So yeah, I'm also doing this Italian style, so I'm adding Italian seasoning into this on top of the turmeric and such. So here's the basil, and I will be using this type of spice in the marinara as well. So there's all my spice. I might actually need to add another egg. I'll see once I actually mix this in. So that's what I'm basically using my one hand to mix all this in, and then I'll add in that. That's why I only say like 1 to 2 eggs, because I'm taking into account the chili sauce slash Willie's relish, because that's going to add a liquid into this, and this is actually, this is very good. Well, it's not like it's holding together a lot better. So for me, 1 egg is good enough. Actually, do 2 eggs, okay. And these are not pasteurized eggs, so I recommend washing your hands every time. Every time. And if you really don't like touching meat with your bare hands, you can wear like latex gloves or whatever, or rubber gloves to do this. It is better to mix with your hands than using like a rubber spatula or a wooden spoon. So I'm going to go and actually measure this out. So 2, I'd say 1/4 cup. Well, you can do a little bit less, a little bit more. So that's 3, and then this is going to be that's the 1/4 cup. Get in there. I'll just really rinse this off in my dishwasher because I have one. But yeah, you can just wash up your dishes as you go along. That's actually fine. I've already washed, so I'm like, okay, I'll just wipe the dust off, and there we go. So let's mix this up first, and then I'll add in the other. So I'm going with a little bit of a sweeter mix this time, instead of going full savory with everything. Normally I do chili sauce, but I wanted something a little bit sweeter. I'm probably going to be doing a Alfredo with this as well, because I kind of, with my Italian dishes, I like half and half, so half meat sauce, half Alfredo. So I'm going to take about 1/4 cup. That should do it. The quick oats is a lot better in terms of blending in and mixing. This stuff just is a little harder. That's why I don't recommend using large flakes. It's not a very good, not very good for this type of thing. I mean, it looks neat and everything, but it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I suppose you can use breadcrumbs or even flour if you're allergic to rolled oats. That's about it. So that's that. These are gunky again, and they're going to be very gunky in a second. But that's basically the mix right now. And I have the towel on my shoulder. And there's the oven. Grand. So I got my meat mix ready. I got my pan pretty well ready. I've gotten the oil on the bottoms as well as around the sides. And I've done up to here. If I need to add more, I will. But you're just going to grab a little bit. And for mine, I just had to press a little harder. Oh yeah, right. Never mind. I forgot one more ingredient that we're going to add into this. Which I love. So I'm just going to try and get the hands. I kind of jumped a little ahead there. I forgot to add in the cheese. And this will add another layer of flavor to the meal because, well, cheese is always good in meatballs, I find. I've tried it without. It works, but I like that extra little bit dimension to my meal. And I could have gotten the knife out. So it's just really quick. I don't even have to use the knife out of the freezer. So that's basically around a cup. It's a little bit more than a cup of cheese, but so actually that is a cup of cheese. Okay, cool. So I got 1 cup of cheese. I'm just going to shred it in quickly. I always use the wide angle shredder because I just like how it looks. You can use the angel hair. It does the same thing. It will melt a lot faster. But since this is going in for like 20 minutes, I want it to melt a little slower. I might actually do 2 pounds. I mean, I got everything else in there. I'm just gonna look. You can do 1 or 2 pounds of meat. It all depends on your preference. I'm just doing the base recipe right now. And if you find this is a little too much cheese, well, it's fine. You can reduce how much cheese you want, or how little cheese, or how much cheese you want. I'm just gonna. It's a little different than my scones when I add the cheese, so to be a little careful. This is going to be very, very cheese infused, which is fine. I really like cheese, so I like cheese. I like garlic. And doing the intermittent fasting is a good thing for me. But yeah, these meals are relatively low carb. You don't want to eliminate every carb because, well, to be quite frank, that would be impossible. And to be honest, it's not as fun. Like, your body does need carb, just doesn't need like more than 25 to 50 grams a day. So what I'm making for this meal is going to be low carb. So I'm just going to, it's probably too much. So make 2 meatballs out of this. So you don't want them like too terribly big, but you don't want them too small either. So that's 1. And the 1 egg is definitely far better than the last time I did this. I did 2 eggs and didn't really, it stuck together, but then it fell apart. This is actually sticking really good together. So yeah, you just want like that big, like maybe 1 inch big. And then I'm using the cupcake tin just to hold them in place so they don't roll around, so they aren't going to, what's it? I'm going to have to do this quickly because the egg will liquefy. So, and my fingers are going to go like yellow because the turmeric is in there, and there goes the, I'll have to wash that later. I tend to roll my shoulders forward when I'm leaning, or when I'm leaning, so I'm like, it's kind of anticipating that it would fall, I just didn't know when. There we go. So yeah, the oil around the edges and or the sides and bottom will help pull these guys out. So yeah. With a pound you can get around, I've done about, what, 22 of these? So I'll see how much I make. This is a little too much. But yeah, the Willie's relish will make, or zucchini relish period, will make it a little bit sweeter. I find it will fit. That's a little too big. Well, they're relatively the same size anyways, so I'm just trying to make them as even as I can. They'll take 20 minutes anyways, well 20 to 30 minutes depending on how big you make the meatballs. And you can do them on the stove. You just want to make them like all the way brown on the outside. And then you just throw them into your sauce after you've mixed everything, or all the sauce together. I'll be showing that a little bit later, how to do the marinara. And while I'm doing the marinara, I'll probably make the Alfredo on top of that. So you can combine the Alfredo recipe with this as well, if you guys do like doing half and half with your meatballs. Like gradually making these bigger. That's right. If they're bigger, they're bigger. If they're smaller, well, they'll be about the right size anyways throughout this meal. So, and I don't want to press them down either. So, just this one more. So yeah, your hands will get gunky while you're doing this. And then it's just all a matter of pressing them, rolling until you get that nice meatball size. So yeah, some of them will be bigger, some of them will be smaller. It just depends on the roll itself. But yeah, that cheese will also help as a binding agent as well. I might actually need to just need a little bit less. And I'm just like kind of cupping them until they're roughly a round shape. I mean, you can take a ice cream scoop, you know, the one that has the built-in blade. You can take one of those and make your meatballs that way, but I find this is a little bit more fun, especially if you have kids who like doing hands-on stuff. So it'll be fun to them. Making homemade meatballs. That's way too big. That's way too big. I think I got enough to do those. So yeah. So yeah. That's better size. Okay. I think I have enough to do 6 more. So yeah, roughly I get about around 20. It depends on if I'm using like 2 pounds or just 1 pound of meat. I'm just carefully making them as round as I can and then dropping them in. Make sure that I don't throw meat on top of the thing. They will cook perfectly fine. I think I have enough for 4 more, or 5 more. I think I did this right, so there's another one. They don't have to like perfectly round either. As long as they're about the same size. I actually have to wash up, or like one. Yeah, that I'm going to have to make them a little bit smaller. Yeah. This is like, I only have like 2 left, so I'm like... And if they're really small, they're small. They're around the same size, they're fine. And it looks like I am like 1 off. So these ones are gonna, these last 2 are gonna be kinda I mean, I could grab this one here and take a little bit out, reform them to that size, like take this one. I take some of these and just take out a little bit, really compact them so they're meatball-ish size. Probably this one too. So I think I got enough now to do 2. So that's that. Yeah. And if they're like slightly smaller, just like half. I also got beat all over my fingers too. That's about it for this size. And these are going to be grand. This is going to be a little bit garlicky for my taste, but well, I like garlic anyways, so. How about that? I made, after resizing some of them, I will have to wipe my counter. But look at that. I made, what, 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 out of 24. That's a pretty good amount of meatballs. And that's like way small. That's way, 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 way small. Okay, and this one here. Take a little bit off. I'm just trying to get them even here. Now this one should be right size. It was just a little on the small side, so I'm like, I'm gonna make sure these guys are the right size, or around the right size. I don't know. Yeah, that's better. And there we go. Now I'm just washing my hands, getting all that stuff off. Turmeric tends to turn your hands a little bit yellow, but that's, well, turmeric and mustard. This end, because the other end is kind of heat. So that's that. These are going to go in for about 20 minutes, and so yeah, that's basically what they look like before they're cooked. And as you see, I have the cooling rack right there. So I will be putting them on there to cool. Let's do 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure that'll cook these guys. Didn't need the knife. You have the right amount of cheese anyways. There we go. So now it's just me basically cleaning up all that cooking. So yeah, definitely use the regular rolled oats. Don't get the large flakes. And if you have quick oats, that's even better because they'll absorb the egg a lot better. Let's see. You can also use, as I said, you can use flour or breadcrumbs instead of the rolled oats. So, okay, so you go there, turmeric goes there, and then there we go. So yeah, now it's just basically me cleaning up my mess while I'm waiting for that to cook. And I still have a little bit left in my fridge. Okay, so what do I want to work with first? Let's get this rinsed off here. I'm using hot water to rinse off my stuff. It will be fairly water soluble, so you can get like most of it off with the water and then just wash up your dish. Or with your soapy water. Just trying to get as much stuff off as I can. This is the other reason why I like hot water, because you can wash your hands in the soapy water hot enough that it'll kill the germs and you'll be able to wash your dishes as well. So there we go. All my counters were wiped last night, so I know they're pretty well clean. I do have to re-wipe that counter, but and I'm already smelling the spices in the meatballs. I haven't done this recipe in a couple of years, and I'm like already salivating. I'm like, it's not time for me to eat yet. Why am I salivating? So I'm gonna need soap for this, because that's all oil and all soap. So what the soap does directly, or when you put it directly on oily surfaces, is the soap will basically eat the oil up, so that you're left with something that's not greasy. Always put a rinse like that, or I'd take the soap directly onto the pan or whatever that has oil, and then I'll just scrub a little bit until the oil's gone, and then wash it up. I just find it helps make the sets in the wash water to last a lot longer, and you don't have to worry about having your water get greasy. Okay, 16 more minutes, yay! So yeah, this is another really good recipe. I think I only have like two Italian dishes on here, I think. The Alfredo, for the pasta and Alfredo. The buns garlic bread, well, that's sort of Italian. It's just using leftover buns to make your garlic bread. And then there's this recipe, which is pretty well Italian. It's like Italian light, is what I want to say. So just like the Alfredo, there's only like maybe one or two ingredients that are different than the actual Italian recipe. So like for the marinara, I use, so that's actually my next part for this recipe. Might as well show you guys exactly what I'm putting in. So I basically have crushed tomatoes and diced tomatoes with Italian seasoning. That's going to be with the, I'm just going to put it over there. Oh, from now on it's not clean. So I usually get the Elmer's diced tomatoes with Italian seasoning. It's great for chili. It's also great for the marinara. And then to help thicken it, I usually do crushed tomatoes. I don't like using tomato paste all that often because it's way too concentrated for a sauce for me, and yeah, I don't like it like too thick. I want like a sauce, right? So that's why I'm using the crushed tomatoes instead of the tomato paste. I'm also doing a can of sliced tomato or sliced mushrooms. The vegetable portion of everything is going to be one of these vegetable packs. So I got the onion, the carrot, the celery, and the green pepper in here, and I'll use one of these big packs for the recipe or for the sauce. That'll be a little bit later. So I always like keeping them in the freezer until I'm ready to use them. But yeah, that'll be the later portion of this episode. So that's that. And like I said, this is all going to be like unedited, pretty well unedited. The chili is the only one that is in 2 parts. I mean, this will be in 2 parts too, but the chili will be like, it'll show how I do the base and then how I do the last portion of the recipe. the last 20 minutes of it. So this is just, this recipe is in 2 parts because I have 2 sections of stuff doing. So I'm doing the meatballs first, and then I'll do the sauce next with everything else. That goes in. So yeah, this one is purposely split into two parts. But the recipe itself, like if you were to do the whole thing together, well, you'll be able to see. Well, you are probably seeing right now. If you look at the length of the episode, just take out the beginning or the intro and the ending part, and you'll get how long the actual recipe is. So yeah, this is pretty well how I'm doing all these recipes. So they're all unedited. You don't have to worry about trying to figure out times and such. How I cook this or how long I cook it is pretty well how long it takes. If you see me like do slight modifications on a recipe, that's just me last minute thinking, adding in what's necessary to make the meal better. You guys can do however you want. Just follow the recipe closely. But yeah, you can make these your own. All the ingredient lists will be in the description below, as well as the cook time and what temperature you need for each thing. So that's that. And I got 11 more minutes. Yay! 11 more minutes, and I'm already on the stage where I just have one more. I have 1 glass to do, and then I'm on to doing my cleanup, my wiping of the counters. So yeah, I always soak my milk glass because that way it's easier to clean after like 20 minutes of soaking. And you just need, for soaking dishes, you just need plain water really. It's just to get the food off of the surface, and then you just wash it off. So that's what I do. And I'm going to keep this on its side because this is my milk glass for the day. So I'm like constantly using the same glass over and over. I mean, I wash it up every time, but I don't tend to go with a different glass every time. There. And it's just faster when you dry the dish right away rather than letting them air dry. I mean, if you don't have time to dry them, then you just put them on a drying rack and let them air dry for like 10 minutes, and then dry them up. Or then either put them away or just lightly wipe them with a tea towel. Okay, I'm just going to use my hand for a second. Grab all these pieces. And wasn't wet enough. So one trick with rolled oats is they're so dry they tentatively, except for these ones, they tend to stick to your hand or your wet hand. So here we go. So I got that ready. And again, this is like a fun recipe that kids can get their hands dirty. Just make sure that they don't eat the raw meat. That's a bad thing. I mean, with my graham crumbles, if I had pasture-raised eggs, or pasture-raised and, what is that called? It's the thing that you do to, what is it called? Pasteurized, there we go. If they're pasture-raised and pasteurized eggs, then sure, you can eat the, like I can eat the graham crumbles raw, but since they're not, that's a risk of salmonella poisoning, so I do not want that. Well, salmonella and E. coli, I think, are raw meat products, so that's a big no-no. And you really shouldn't be eating raw products anyways, unless they're vegetables or cured meat. That's the only two things that you can eat raw really. So your fruits and vegetables, your cured meats. So like, technically you can eat bacon raw. It's not recommended because it's a cured meat itself, but it's better to eat that. There we go. Yeah. So everything I'll put away. I still got 7 minutes. Doesn't take long to actually do the dishes. So that, now that I wiped this counter, I can put my, what I'm going to be using for tonight. Which means I get to put all these ingredients back out again. But yeah. So I'm like setting up for the next part now, so I don't have to do it later. So that's my talent seasoning. And yeah, for the spaghetti portion, I always get this stuff. You really only want like this much. So if you have a ladle, my ladle doesn't have it, but if you have one of these guys and they have like a hole in the center, whatever fits in that hole is about what you need for one portion. And I really recommend only doing like one or two portions per meal. That way you always have fresh pasta with your meal. My mother always used to cook like a big amount of pasta beforehand, like with meal, and then to go with the leftovers. It's not good when you have like leftover pasta or plain pasta like that. It's always, if you do want like leftover pasta, take a little bit of olive oil or the avocado oil and mix it around mix around in the noodles, and then store it in the fridge. That way the noodles don't dry up, they don't get soggy. They just stay the same until you're ready to warm them up. And like what you could do is take a portion of the leftover noodles, put it in the pan with the sauce, and then just kind of mix it around until that whole portion is warmed up. So that's what you could do. I like doing fresh pasta every time. Just something that I've learned from Italians doing this, so that's that. So I got my dry mark ready for, you know what, I'm just gonna, so I don't have to put this on the next time. I'm just gonna put these guys back on, so that way I don't have to worry about having to deal with this. I just don't like cleaning this thing too often. There. So I got 4 minutes till that's ready, and then this will be ready. Oh, right, I need the container to put the things in, and I always use like one of these guys because it's enough room to put everything in. So when the meatballs are relatively cool, I won't like perfectly get them cold, but I'll just cool them until they're like where I can grab them with my bare hands, put them in there, and then throw them in the fridge till tonight when I'm doing the sauce. So yeah, you can do it that way, where you store your meatballs. Like you can cook the meatball portion in the morning and then come back at night when you're ready to make supper, and then cook the sauce, or put them in the sauce while the sauce is cooking. So I'm just waiting for this to cook. I got 3 minutes. I'm going to turn it off because I'm going to let the residual heat of the oven continue the cooking process. Somebody did not wipe this wall. It's probably me that didn't wipe this well. From the last time I did scones. Well, I'm just using this to set the pan on anyway, so. 2 minutes to go, yay! So, when this is done, I'll just throw it on cooling rack so you guys can see what it looks like cooked, and then that should be about it for this part. So, it's just the waiting game. I'm pretty sure all I need. I'm just gonna take a peek here. Oh yeah. Yeah, 20 minutes is perfect for these guys. I do have the timer for these for like between 20 and 30 minutes. It depends on how big the meatballs are. You want them to be like cooked, but not like overcooked. So yeah, these guys are ready to go. So that's basically them cooked. Yeah, there we go. They should be a little soft. So I'm just gonna let them like fully cool. They will be kind of sticky for me, but if you use regular ground beef, they shouldn't stick at all. Even if you don't use the, like if you don't oil the edges. I'm just gonna let these guys cool all the way through, but that's basically them cooked. So with that, I'm going to pause it here, and then you guys can check the second part as soon as this is ready. Okay, so there we go. So last time we left off, I cooked up the meatballs, and that's basically what they look like when they're fully cooked. I've only got 3 that are, oh, that one, and that one, that are kind of broken, but doing that avocado oil in with the, or on the cups of the cupcake tin definitely works. I am definitely going to do that every time I'm doing this type of recipe. I'm just going to quickly wash this up, and then I can get going. Just want to make sure my shredder is clean. I just got the Alfredo pretty well made. You can follow the Alfredo recipe at least on my previous videos. The pasta and Alfredo recipe. You can just follow that one if you want to make a homemade Alfredo sauce. I also have pre-made or pre-gotten my leftover buns garlic bread set up. I got the oven preheated. That'll all happen soon enough. I just wanted to get all that stuff prepped and ready to go. So I also have my tin cans all opened up. I got a lot more garlic, just don't have a chance. What else do I need? Anything else? No. I can start this recipe right away. So, putting this on to medium heat. Got my avocado oil, putting it's 2 tablespoons. I'm going to do 2 more because with a Italian marinara they use a lot of olive oil, and since I'm adding vegetables into this, I want to make sure that I get enough oil for both the sauce aspect as well as to make sure the vegetables are well done. So I'm just getting the pan somewhat coated. Just want to get this oil. I blend a little spotty. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I just wanted enough to cook the pan plus my food, and I wanted to make sure that my vegetables are staying frozen until I actually need them, which is just about now. This usually takes about half an hour to make, so it goes pretty quick. So once the vegetables are done, like I'm going to add the mushrooms on top of the frozen veg so I can get them all cooked up. Then at that point, then I'll start on getting the water set up, or water boiling for the spaghetti. Which reminds me, I need a big bowl. And I'm just going to do like one portion of spaghetti for myself, so that way I don't have leftovers. So I like having the leftover for the sauce, that's fine. So you guys can see, that's my Alfredo pretty well set. It could have gone a little longer to thicken up, but as it cools, it will thicken on its own. I just kept the lid on so I can have warm sauce by the time stuff is ready. There we go. And I really like doing these little vegetable packs because you don't have to worry about prepping your vegetables already done. And I'm just going to use the rubber sticker for this part because I really don't need the chopsticks other than to do the spaghetti. That's that. Am I going to add any of this? Let's go put the mushrooms in too. You can use fresh mushrooms. I just chose to use the canned because it's a little faster for me. And really there's not that much taste difference between fresh mushrooms and the canned, so I just like using the canned because it's a little faster, a little easier for me because I just open the can, it's already pre-measured. If you're going to use fresh mushrooms, I would suggest doing the 250 gram sliced mushroom pack. That'll give you plenty of mushrooms for this entire sauce. So that, I'm just adding these into the vegetables just to A, to enhance the flavor of the carrots, and B, it's an overall good spice to use. I love my turmeric, I love my mustard when it comes to my vegetables. So yeah, I'm just gonna stir around. This will take about 10 minutes for the veg to be all ready to go for the sauce. Actually, while I'm going to grab some water because I'm a bit thirsty. Yeah, still can't believe how well those turned out. You can fry the meatballs on the stove on medium heat for probably about 10-15 minutes. You just want to get them brown on the outside. That's better. Need to wet my whistle. So yeah, I got all my vegetables that I want in there. It's just going to take a little bit for this, and once this is ready, then I'll start doing the other, because I'll be doing the sauce. I'll have to do the sauce first, add my Italian seasoning, and then I'll add the meatballs in and let it cook. I'll do this first, then do the sauce, time it for 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, and then add in the meatballs, and then time it for 20 minutes. That should be enough time to boil water and make the pasta and do the garlic bread at that point. Because you do want the sauce to cook for around 20 minutes. 20 minutes, half an hour, just so that everything gets the flavor of the marinara. So I'm just like, it'll take a little while. I mean, I can speed up the heating process and add a little bit of water. I might actually do that. Actually, maybe not. Those are pretty good, so like I just want to get them at the stage that I need it to be at. It's almost there, so if you're doing fresh, yeah, about 10 minutes frying first gets them relatively, like, pretty well halfway cooked. You don't want to overcook them because they're going to be cooking in the sauce as well, so I'm just waiting for mine to fully get nice and hot, and then I'll do the sauce. I know I could have had thyme and rosemary in with this and parsley, but I kind of just like a plain marinara. So garlic, basil, and oregano. That's my go-to for doing all these Italian sauces. There we go. So yeah, there will be like, if you do the frozen like if you chop your vegetables fresh and then have them in the freezer, there will be a little bit of a liquid coming out. That's just the water from inside the vegetables. That's basically the concentration of vitamins and minerals from the vegetables. And I just do the standard vegetables. I got onion, carrot, celery, and green pepper. It's all really used for my fresh veg. If I'm doing like a stir fry, then I'll add a little actually, yeah, I would add a bit of bok choy or chopped up bok choy in with it, especially if I'm doing Mandarin style food. But yeah. So I'm just waiting a little bit more. As I can see, it's starting to bubble, which is good. And I don't need to, well, I'll be turning it down to, what's that, medium low, so on number 4. I got it on medium high right now, because I want it to cook. I wanted to cook without cooking too much. So, I'm seeing all the seeing all the liquid bubbling, so that's a good sign that the pan is nice and toasty. Yeah. And when it comes to fresh mushrooms, they'll be like gigantic when you first cook them, but they will shrink down to like this size and like nothing. There. So yeah, when you cook fresh mushrooms, it'll go down to like this size within like maybe 5 minutes. Depends on how high you do your vegetables. There. Hey, now it's sizzling, which is cute. That's what I want. I'm just looking for the peppers. If they start going like a bright color, then it's ready to do the sauce. You don't want them to like be overcooked yet. So they're pretty well already right now. So I'm going to do add in the diced tomatoes because I really like a chunky pasta sauce. So I tend to use the diced tomatoes as my tomato base rather than crushed tomatoes and the tomato paste. I really don't like tomato paste all that often. It's fine. It thickens stuff way too fast for my good, or for my own good. So doing diced tomatoes and then crushed tomatoes, you're gonna get that nice balance, and it's not gonna thicken too much. So here, and this will make a lot of sauce. Like I've done, like just for me alone, this will do 3 meals easily. Possibly even 4 meals if I don't like do too much sauce. Yeah, this is definitely a 3-day meal for me. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna add I'm gonna do this measuring out instead of just eyeballing everything. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of the garlic because I like my garlic. Probably add more afterwards, but that's a good start for me. So that's my garlic, and I'm adding it in now while I have that liquid before I put the crushed tomatoes. So again, I'm going to do 1. This is like very staticky stuff. But yeah, there's 2 teaspoons of that. I'm going to do 3 of the basil because with the marinara, it's usually just a sweet basil. So 1, 2, and then 3. So it's going to be very, very herby, which is a nice touch with this. Again, I put this rest or the spices as to your preference, so you can add as much or as little spice as you want. But I like, when I'm going Italian, I'm going full Italian, or as close to full Italian as I can when it comes to this. So I want to make sure that my sauce has all the herbs and spices. Well, it's really just a bunch of herbs. There's not really a spice in here. Well, yeah, there's the turmeric and the mustard. Those are spices. But the garlic, the oregano, and the basil, those are herbs. Despite people call them spices. Herbs are usually the leaves of the plant. The leaves are the root of the plant. The spices are usually the bark of a plant, or in some cases the root. So like ginger would be considered kind of one of those half and halves. Like it's an herb, but it's also a root, or also a spice. Cinnamon is definitely a spice. So is chili powder, cayenne, paprika. Those are all spices. Garlic is definitely an herb in that regard because of its earthy flavor and such. So this is about ready. Just try to mix in the last bit of that. And if it does get a little too thick, you can always add a little bit of water. I actually do because it's going to be cooking for a little while, so I might as well add a bit of water while I'm rinsing this can out. Add about, I think this is what, 28 ounces? Yeah, 28 ounces, so I usually do like 1 can, or in this case, about half a can. Just so the sauce has a little bit of liquid. I notice it's a bit thick, but that's alright. So this will thin it out a little bit. You can cook it for, well, I'm actually going to keep it on 6 just to keep it nice and heated. And that's technically what they do with the pre-made sauces. They add water to thin it out a little bit. Sometimes they add too much water and then it's like really, really thin. But I'm just gonna cook this, kind of reduce this down. I'm gonna keep it on the same heat so it cooks nicely and even. This is the start of the marinara, which is nice. Adding in meatballs now so that they can get all saucified and such. This is why I always cook the meatballs ahead of time, because then it saves on time, and then you just pop them in however you want. I only have like 14 here, so I can have that many meatballs. So there. And then I'm just gonna throw the scraps in wherever. It sometimes happens with me. I'll have like scraps of things, and then I just submerge the meatballs. That I actually will turn it down now. As I'm hearing it bubble, I'm like, okay, I better turn it down a little bit. So with that, this is 20 minutes. So with that, I'm going to get that going. When that hits 16, I'm going to put the garlic bread in. And then that should be about right. It's a very simple recipe. Especially for the sauce. Like, I basically just made the sauce. I just have to let it simmer till it's ready. Pretty much. I like these simple recipes. They're home cooked, they're healthy. They're healthy without looking like they're healthy. If that makes any sense. I have a feeling that our stove here tends to cook a little higher than what's written on the numbers, so I might actually turn it down a little bit more. So this sauce is like golden right now. Like it's a sauce, but it's like, it's thick enough that it's going to be on, or it's going to stick to the pasta, which is good. So I'm just making sure that everything is all incorporated. We've got plenty of oh. So I'm just going to grab more water because I'm kind of thirsty. So got 4 minutes. I got the water going for the pasta. There we go. It just gets, it's a little bit warm in the kitchen, so I'm going to keep myself hydrated. There we go. So again, once I get this, open this box, I'll show you exactly how much a 1 portion size is. So, you know, they could have put again, shrinkflation strikes again. Why not use a smaller box? I only have like half a box here, and I just opened this. So basically, take your, I don't know if you guys can see that. That's good enough for me. Okay. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, that's better. I'm just like, so yeah, about this much. I don't know if you can see it, about that much pasta is about one portion. And usually I break it in half. Really shouldn't. With Italians will get mad if you do break your pasta in half, but yeah, if you don't like really, really, really long pasta, then yeah, go ahead and I'm just taking like this really, really small pieces out because I want nice and even. There we go. So my pasta measured out. Usually I can only get like maybe I usually get about 3 helpings worth of pasta on this. But the Catelli Super Greens is what I usually use for my pasta. And I'm just gonna wait for that. I don't think I need my spices anymore. Just make sure that this is gonna, nothing is gonna stick. Well, it shouldn't stick because I got the avocado oil on the bottom. It's another thing why I like that oil more than the olive oil, because A, it's easier to clean, and B, it stays in the food rather than coating on top. Just waiting. Oh, right. Like 16 minutes. So garbage bed's going in now. Let's get that in. So my garlic bread is in, ready to go. Some other small thing. What's interesting with me is when I was a kid, if I was low on vitamin B, like any of the vitamin Bs, I used to go into the pantry and grab a stick of spaghetti and start munching on it like farmers would with a piece of straw. It was a good way of getting vitamin B, or getting a full bunch of vitamin B. But nowadays I know better. You know, that's not a good thing to do. That sauce is already thickening. The Alfredo is already thickening. Just good. I'll have to do like a quick stir. So go. I got 14 minutes on supper. So that means I'm going to pull up my colander, get that ready. I don't know why they call it a colander. I always call it a sieve. But Italians are going to hate me, but I don't have like a gigantic pot to do my spaghetti in, so that's why I have to do my spaghetti in half. So with me, I just stir a little bit. I don't add water or salt or anything to the water. Once you stir it enough, the water will get on the outside of the pasta, and then you just leave it for 10 minutes. I do that with all my pasta, and I've never had it stick together. It's boiling. It's just boiling like mad, so I really like how those meatballs turned out. The ones that are kind of broken, I have a feeling those ones will be the ones that break up, but other than that, it should be a good sauce. Okay, meatballs, get back in the sauce. Dive, dive, dive. There we go. So that's that. I'm gonna put my stuff away. I got enough spices in there, or enough herbs in there, so I can put my stuff away. I'm really surprised that I didn't need to open my new garlic, which is a good thing. Okay, I don't have to worry about that. Okay. I'll wash up my tin. I already pre-rinsed it, so I just basically just throw hot water over it. It's already pre-rinsed, I don't have to worry about that. Just wash dry and put away. I really like doing this method where I put my meatballs in the, wish I could get like a smaller cupcake tin, like a really micro cupcake tin, but this is like good enough. And where I did the oil, it's a nice, it's like greeny color. That's from the avocado oil. But this thing is actually getting seasoned finally. This is kind of like a knockoff Baker's Secret product, or Baker's Secret pan, but it doesn't season that much. I mean, Baker's Secret seasons like within like the first or second time it's in the oven. When I say season, I mean it starts turning brown at that point. Baker's Secret is one of those things that are very special. It's a very special pan. It seasons like a cast iron, but it's a steel pan. Either steel or aluminum. Yeah, it's just making sure that everything's all dry while I'm waiting for things to cook. So I got 6 minutes on the pasta, 10 minutes on the sauce, and 10 minutes on the garlic. There we go. And we got all my dishes for now are done. So yeah, I know it's boiling, I don't even touch it until it's ready. The other thing I do make sure, or I do stir, is the sauce. But boy, is this a good sauce. So this is more like a sweet basil marinara than your typical standard. But doing the crushed tomatoes and the diced tomatoes, you get the best of both worlds, and it doesn't thicken too much. I keep forgetting how tall I am. Like, almost hitting that. So yeah. 5 more minutes and then that's ready. I got my pasta, or my stuff all set up here. Probably put the garlic bread on that side. That's what I'll do, because my pasta is going to be sitting for a little bit. And this is the trick that I was talking about earlier with pasta. I'm just gonna wait until that's done. God, this sauce looks good. It's like, it's perfectly thick. Like, it's not too thick and it's not too runny, so. We have 4 more minutes, yay. 4 more minutes and then the pasta's ready. I could have waited till the 6 minute or the 10 minute mark and then do the to the pasta, but it'll be the past 4 minutes, not that long. Back under there. Have to keep pushing the meatballs back into the sauce. Three more minutes, yay. Then the sauce is ready, and then I can just, or the sauce is ready. Then the spaghetti is ready, and then I only have 4 minutes for the sauce. So I'm gonna add a little bit of avocado oil with the pasta, just so it doesn't dry up and stick to each other. Yeah, sauce is definitely thickening. So I'm gonna make these dumps right. You just gotta stir this a little bit. It's thick. Well, it's a little bit runny right now, but it'll thicken in the fridge. It coats well on the spoon, which is a good thing. It's always a good sign with your sauces. If it coats the spoon, it's thick enough that it's going to do its job. So there. I just wanted to stir it up just a little bit. Create a bit of a crust. Well, it's just so it doesn't. What was it called? A film. Yeah, film. That's what I'm trying to think of. I'm like so hungry. I'm like, forgetting to speak, forgetting words. But yeah, it's. I just wanted to stir it up so it doesn't create a film on top. That's the downside of making homemade sauces, is it tends to start separating a little bit, especially with like an Alfredo. If you do like the true Italian style, which is just butter, garlic, oregano, basil, and Parmesan Reggiano, and it's a lot of Parmesan Reggiano. You just basically cook that, and as the cheese cooks, it starts making its own little cream sauce stuff. With me, I like using the heavy cream as my base, and then put the cheese in. And I find Gouda works pretty well for doing the Alfredo. It's a cheap alternative than using the Parmesan Reggiano. That tends to be like, for a wedge that's that long and about that wide is like $18. I'm like, it's a lot of money for a small little piece of cheese. So I get a 400-gram brick of Gouda, and that's about $5. And look at that, my spaghetti is. Did it stick together? Nope. It's all together. They're all separated. I'm taking that off the heat, which means I don't need that anymore. Washing that in a second. Just getting as much of the water out of it. Adding my pasta is. But yeah, I always cook it for 10 minutes. Gets it nice. It gets it cooked, but not like overcooked. So just to drizzle this over top. You don't want it like too much. Because my right doesn't exactly feel anything. Just use a fork when you do this, or a pair of tongs. But This will just help with keeping the spaghetti from sticking together and drying out. Like that trick from my grandmother doing Italian food. My grandmother's British, but she knows all different types of cooking. Yep. So that's that. Don't need any more oil than that. Just a little splash will do. 2 minutes. Oven goes off because the sauce is just about ready. Or the buns garlic bread is just about ready. And I can turn this off because it's, again, just about ready. So, like, this is like amazing. It's nice. It's not like too thick. It's like perfect where you want a sauce to be. So, and because I love my cheese. And I grab some of my brick. Some of my big brick here. Do I have another spoon? I just have this one. Okay, fine. I have a ladle. Okay, a ladle of the marinara. That will enable me to do that. I can use this for the Alfredo. My buns garlic bread is just about ready. And I'm going to grab some cheese because I want to have a little bit of cheese on top. And if you were to bake this, I would do 2 cups of cheese, throw it in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes. It's good. Or you could blast it on high for like, well, until the cheese is nice and golden on top. But I like slow cooking things. But, haha, 16 minutes gives you garlic bread like that. So, that's the leftover buns garlic bread, all ready to go. I mean, you could cook it a little bit longer if you want the cheese browned, but yeah, I like this the way it is. So on goes the sauce. That's 2 meatballs. That's meatball number 3. And for me, I do like, what, 4? Over 12, right? I have 14. So I'll do 5. That's just getting a little heavy on my hand here. So a little bit more. And 1 more meatball. So there we go. That's that. And I don't need that anymore. I can wash that up later. Onto my Alfredo, which is really good. I'll take. It's not super thick because I just cooked it like sparingly, but it is thick enough to do as a sauce. So actually do 2. Should be enough. Let's do 3. But this is like a really good sauce. So there. That goes in there. I need a knife for the cheese. What I'm doing is I'm making sure that my thing is going to stay. So my sauce, well, sauce part 1 is going to go over there for a moment. Let's get my cheese put on top. Again, fresh cheese is always better than the dried cheese. But I always like a little bit of shredded on top. So do that. And that's basically the meal. It's another one of those fresh homemade marinara sauce fresh or homemade meatballs, and I have a Alfredo put on top because I like half and half. I could have cooked the Alfredo a little thicker, but I know it'll thicken as it sits, so this will be really good. I'm just doing like a layer of cheese here because I want my cheese. I like my cheese. And with fresh Parmesan. Like when I go to an Italian restaurant, I usually wait, like when they're doing the fresh Parmesan, I just like wait until there's like a pile of cheese on top. But yeah, actually, I think this might be, let's do this. Will this sit? I don't want to see. Will it sit? No, it doesn't. Okay, so the cheese is too thick. Okay, so forget that. I'll just do the. Throw my French bread on there, slide it on, but yeah, I have parchment paper for the next time. I can tell it's good. So that's basically the recipe right there. So you got, let's see if I can do this without dropping it. So you got the leftover buns garlic bread from another recipe, and then you got the pasta with homemade marinara sauce. Put this over here. So that, and that's about it. Well, that's pretty much it for making this meal. Hope it was somewhat enjoyable and educational. Look forward to the next episode of Eclipse Kitchen. Here's where you could find me and my counterpart. Follow us on Twitter and join our Facebook group where you'll get regular updates on what's going on. Subscribe to this channel and our main channel to see all the wonderful content we'll bring to you. And last but not least, become a Patreon and donate to our coffee to show your support for more content like this and more. You all have a great day.